is from Isaiah chapter 5, verses 1 through 7. Let me sing for my beloved, my love song concerning his vineyard. My beloved had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. He dug it and cleared it of stones and planted it with choice vines. He built a watchtower in the midst of it and hewed out a wine vat in it. He expected it to yield grapes, but it yielded wild grapes. And now the inhabitants of Jerusalem and people of Judah judge between me and my vineyard. What more was there to do for my vineyard that I have not done in it? When I expected it to yield grapes, why did it yield wild grapes? And now I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will remove its hedge, and it shall be devoured. I will break down its wall, and it shall be trampled down. I will make it a waste. It shall not be pruned or hoed, and it shall be overgrown with briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the people of Judah are his pleasant planting. He expected justice, but saw bloodshed, righteousness, but heard a cry. Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church.
And the epistle reading today is from Hebrews 11:29 through 12:2. By faith the people passed through the Red Sea as if it were dry land, but when the Egyptians attempted to do so, they were drowned. By faith the walls of Jericho fell after they had been encircled for 7 days. And by faith Rahab, the prostitute, did not perish with those who were disobedient, because she had received the spies in peace. And what more should I say? For time would fail me to tell of Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, and of David and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, obtained promises, shut the mouths of lions, quenched raging fire, escaped the edge of the sword, won strength out of weakness, and became mighty in war, put foreign armies to flight. Women received their dead by resurrection. Others were tortured, refusing to accept release in order to obtain a better resurrection. Others suffered mocking and flogging, and even chains and imprisonment. They were stoned to death. They were sawn in two. They were killed by the sword, and they went about in skins of sheep and goats, destitute, persecuted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and mountains and in caves and holes in the ground. Yet all these, though they were commended for their faith, did not receive what was promised, since God had provided something better so that they would not, apart from us, be made perfect. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and the sin that clings so closely. And let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, who for the sake of the joy that was set before him endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and has taken his seat at the right hand of the throne of God.
Our gospel reading today is from Luke chapter 12, verses 49 to 56. I came to bring fire to the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled. I have a baptism with which to be baptized, and what stress I am under until it is completed. Do you think that I have come to bring peace to the earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. From now on, 5 in one household will be divided. 3 against 2 and 2 against 3, they will be divided. Father against son and son against father, mother against daughter and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. He also said to the crowds, when you see a cloud rising in the west, you immediately say, it is going to rain. And so it happens. And when you see the south wind blowing, you say, there will be scorching heat. And it happens. You hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of earth and sky. But why do you not know how to interpret the present time? May we understand what the scriptures are teaching us today. So, Isaiah gives us a love song. I know at the end of it, it doesn't sound like it, but he gives us a love song concerning God's vineyard. God expected justice, but saw bloodshed. Expected righteousness, but heard a cry. In Hebrews, we hear about mighty deeds. We hear about martyrdom. We hear about people who acted on faith. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also run with perseverance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus. Run with perseverance. Keep trying. Keep working. Stay on task. And in Luke, last week we talked about what we need to do to get ready for God's kingdom, and this week we're talking about how does the world respond to God's kingdom. So, in Isaiah, why does judgment come? Why is God upset? He says, I planted for righteousness. I expected wonderful things from my vineyard, beautiful grapes. How many of you have a garden? Sort of, right? I'm sort of. How many of you always get exactly what you thought you were going to get from your garden? Me neither. In fact, I thought I was going to have a yard I didn't have to do anything to. And the last few days, I keep going out and hauling out all the crabgrass. If I were God and had planted wonderful, wonderful grapes in my vineyard, and I expected wonderful, wonderful wine to come out of it, and I get weeds and little bitty wild grapes that are hardly good for anything, I'd be pretty disappointed. That's why God is disappointed. He planted in Judah wonderful people. He sent great prophets to give the word of God. And yet, the people do not bear the fruit. Why? They're not taking advantage of the nourishment that God is offering them. They're not communicating with God, whatever their troubles are. We all have troubles. Sometimes we pray. Sometimes we treat prayer as oh God, fix this, fix that, and fix this, and please make sure I have enough money for rent. But how often do we pray for what is truly lacking and what is truly grieving our soul? How often are we strong enough to actually look at that and say, God, I need your spirit and your food within me? We often ignore that. And then we stumble through our race and through our life and we don't meet our goals. Because we're not really following directions. I don't know how many times I've read stories in the Old Testament when the Jewish nation was running off the wrong way, worshiping a golden calf, looking for money, for greed, and not for every word that comes out of the mouth of God. So, God is grieved. Now, what does he say he's going to do to that vineyard? Let me go back and read the scripture for you. All right, let's see. I will remove its hedge, and it shall be devoured. I will break down its wall, and it will be trampled down. I will make it a waste. It shall neither be pruned or hoed. It shall be overgrown with briars and thorns. I'll command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it. Giving up. Giving up. I'm not going to try to prune this anymore. You know, we have to prune our roses to get more roses. Sure, we can let them grow wild and we'll still get some. But they'll probably be kind of straggly, not very pretty. But if we prune off the deadheads, we water it, fertilize it, take care of it, we get beautiful roses. He's not going to do that anymore. He's going to probably burn it down. I actually have a picture that I forgot to give you here. I don't know how well, I know some of you can't see it. But I guess I can't use the laser pointer and the changer at the same time. We see someone who's supposed to be pruning, but in the background, we see people just burning off the limbs that are dried out and rotten. A vineyard that someone wants to take care of, but they have to get rid of the dead stuff. When we look at Isaiah, he talks about doing those things, pruning, burning off, keeping it clean. So how do we do that? How do we do what God asks us to do in Isaiah? How do we do what Jerusalem was supposed to be doing, what Judah was supposed to be doing? How do we act like the people in Hebrews, who are those heroes that we're to be looking up to? Right? We talked about these people. Faith. Isaac, Sarah, Abraham, Jacob, Samuel, Joseph, Miriam, Moses, Noah, Rahab, David. I don't know what that one says. Rachel, Lydia, Ruth, Mary. Oh, Hannah. I was reading it sideways. It looked like a very odd thing. Okay, Hannah. So, what do they have in common? It's okay to answer. What do they have in common? Faith. Faith. That's that whole faith. And what did they do with their faith? Again, it's okay to answer. They held on to it and
did what God asked.
they did what God asked. They acted upon their faith. They jumped up on those parallel bars, or on that horse, or into the water and swam. We had history-making Olympic medals over this last week. People who won gold medals. I saw one story about years and years ago when Dorothy Dandridge, an African-American actress, put her toe in a pool. They drained the whole pool. And now, take a look at our gymnastics team and our swimmers who win the gold medals. No, everything isn't fixed. Of course not. And yes, of course there are still people who hold on to fear and trepidation. They don't want to deal with actually opening hearts and minds and spirits to people that are different for whatever reason. But I saw the picture of the swimmer. What's her name? Anybody remember? Simone, yes. Simone, when she got to the end of her race and she knew she'd won, and I saw this amazing face that was so lit up with excitement. She had run her race. She had really stepped out in faith to train for that. Olympics is something I could never do. I do my own thing, other things. We all have our own things that we do. For some of us, it's teaching. For some of us, it's ministry. For some of it's art. For some of us, it's just simply caring for other people. There are many, many things. I have the greatest respect for those people who do the jobs that I need them to do for me to live my life, but they're jobs that I wouldn't want to do, couldn't do. My guys that come by every Monday and empty the trash cans, right? The busboy at the restaurant who gets all the dirty dishes off of my table, and I'm still talking and writing on napkins, right? The kid who delivers pizza when I'm like, I have to have pizza. You know. The people who grow those coffee beans that I am so addicted to. I couldn't grow coffee beans, and I don't even know how to roast them. I have a friend who does and brings me his roasted coffee beans. Yay, Tim. You know, but, you know, all of those things, for me, those people are heroes. Those people are doing the things in life that make all of our lives possible. Those Olympians are heroes. Those of you who are braving heat to come here today are heroes. Carol Carson, you are a hero. So, what does God want? How do we look at some questions? I'm going to go back and read them because I didn't memorize them. But some questions that we have. Because many of us are frustrated as we try to run these races. We're scared. We don't know what's going to happen. We're afraid we're going to fail. So let's read these questions. There's something for you to think about. They are on the website. I didn't print them for you because I was having a major battle with my printer this week. But anyway, I'm going to read them to you, and then if you want them later, look at your app, look at your website, write them down and think about it. Hang on. All right, they're in here somewhere. Okay. How often is lament a part of your prayer life? That sounds depressing, I know. But how often do we face up to whatever sorrow is really hitting us hard? Because those things are preventing us from running our race. One has the gain of the community. When has the pain of the community felt like your own personal pain? I actually think for many of us that is often. But there are some people who shut that out, caring enough about their community to feel the pain as a whole rather than shut it out. When has God seemed absent in your life or the life of the community? Now here I'm talking about, what if we're that vineyard full of weeds and wild grapes, and our vineyard keeper says, "Ah, the heck with you." Have we ever felt that way? How do our stories give us hope? And there's a psalm that I'll read to you in a minute too. It was one of our lectionaries that helps us give us hope. What and who needs to be restored today? Now here's the psalm that expands upon what happened in Isaiah. We give us some thought to that. Give ear, O shepherd of Israel, you who lead Joseph like a flock. You who are enthroned upon the cherubim, shine forth before Ephraim and Benjamin and Manasseh. Stir up your might and come to save us. So, a little interruption, praying to God, our shepherd, to come and save us. You brought a vine out of Egypt. You drove out the nations and planted it. You cleared the ground for it. It took deep root and filled the land. Here he's talking about Israel, the vine that he brought out of Egypt. Right? We're talking about bringing something out, planting it, filling the land. The mountains were covered with its shade, the mighty cedars with its branches. It sent out its branches to the sea and its shoots to the river, growing everywhere. Growth from that little seed from Israel. Why then have you broken down its walls so that all who pass along the way pluck its fruit? The boar from the forest ravages it, and all that move in the field feed on it. Why have you forsaken this? The psalmist wants to know. Turn again, O God of hosts. Look down from heaven and see. Have regard for this vine, the stock that your strong hand planted. They have burned it with fire. They have cut it down. May they perish at the rebuke of your countenance. But let your hand be upon the one at your right hand, the one whom you made strong for yourself. Now we're talking about the Messiah, about Jesus. Then we will never turn back from you. Give us life, and we will call on your name. Restore us, O sovereign God of hosts. Let your face shine, that we may be saved. So, thinking about the psalm, a prayer to God. Restore us. Turn back to us. Come back to us. The psalm is a lament. The lament I was talking about. Come back to us, God. Touch us and fill us and nourish us and help us to follow you. Help us to run that race. There's hope that we can be restored. But what does the hope require? Can it just happen? What does it require? You were going to say something.
I was just going to faith that you will get something.
Faith that you will get there. Even faith enough just to ask. Faith to ask. And then faith to believe in the answer. Even if it doesn't seem apparent right away. Faith to act. Other stories, faith of a mustard seed. Right? Faith that we can move mountains. I want to take a couple minutes and talk about Bethel and faith. The people that came here in 1885 established this congregation with many fewer people than we have in this room right now. And they eventually moved to another building, beautiful big building that is no longer standing down on Holt and I think what's now Palm, right? It was A and I think it's Palm now, right? And that's where the window came from, right? The window moved over here. This building was built by the hands of that congregation in 1912. Granite, stone, strength. Can you imagine the kind of faith it took for those people to take those steps? Now, I'm fairly handy. I can build like a little shed or a doghouse. I can build computers and fix things. But something like this? No. I can paint. Some of you can paint. We need some more paint upstairs. But if those people could do that then, in 1885 and 1912. Imagine with the tools for communication we have now. Imagine with the tools we have for building and fixing things now, where we could go with this. I know what God has planted here. God has planted a people full of love and full of God's Spirit. And I know that many of those people are tired. I know that many of those people have their own problems and challenges, their own family lives or work lives, all sorts of distractions that keep us from focusing on our ministries here and our growth, our needed growth here, and our projects. But I still see that faith. I felt kind of silly when I filled out the little form, and it was a very simple grant form with the UCC that said, if you think this is important and you want to be a part of this project, go ahead and fill this out. We'll take a look at everybody who submits, and we're going to pick 5 churches, and we're going to give those 5 churches throughout the country. 5 churches. We're one of 5 in the whole country that got a $2,000 grant to work on Our Faith, Our Vote. I don't know what I wrote that went, okay, you get one. I have no idea. I just filled out a form that said, it's important. It's important to me. It's important to us. It's important to our community that we do this, that we reach out to our community. Every week, I feel this. Bethel will grow. Bethel is a solid rock planted in the middle of this town, city of Ontario. And it's made up of a few people in the congregation right now that do lots and lots and lots of things. But you know what, people? You do not have to do all those things by yourself. But in order to get help, you have to let other people know you need it. You have to reach out and say, I know you do this all the time, so I'm going to pick on you. Come and help us with our pet food bank. Come and sign up for Relay for Life. She can take it. She knows I know she does this. Right? Come and help us build a music program. Come and help us build an acolyte program. Come and help us do these things. Acolyte program. Sorry, squirrel, okay? Acolyte program. We've had some young people in the church that have done this sometimes for us. It's kind of hit or miss now and then. Depends when they're here, when they're not here. Stacy has been faithful this whole year to make sure we have someone to light our candles. And we're going to try again a little reboot in the fall to get acolytes going again. Now, it's not just about the beautiful ceremony that happens when acolytes really do their job. Okay? It's beautiful and it's wonderful. And when we do everything involved, and that takes a while to train the children, they come up at the beginning of the service. If it's not too hot, they have some nice robe on. They're carrying a pole that has a little light at the end of it. And they come up and they light our candles. How many of you have been in a high enough church that you know what that light is? Anybody remember? It's bringing the light of Christ into our service of worship. That's what that symbolism is about. Now, it's here, whether we have a kid to come light candles or not. Whether Stacy or Sandy or Donna or somebody run up and say, oh, we got to light the candles. Jacob didn't make it today. We got to light the candles. But I have seen children get involved in an acolyte program that learn how important it is to carry that light of God with them and to bring it into church and to help us begin worship. It becomes a discipline. It becomes a commitment. It becomes a keeping of our promises and persevering in our task. Even if we're 8 or 9 or 13 or 18. And it's only a short little thing at the beginning and end of a service. It is so important. So, we're going to try to get them started again. And when they're not here, our diaconate will make sure our candles are lit. But all those little things, having a lesson every week for the kids. 1 kid, 6 kids, doesn't matter to me. There's always a lesson. And if any of you want to do those lessons, please tell me. I have no need to do that all by myself every week. I'm happy, and I have some materials for you. You don't even have to think of the lesson all by yourself, okay? Or if you want to, you can. but I have stuff that I can give you. But it's going to take something for Bethel to get back to growing. And I got to tell you, folks, we have several visitors today. I'm so excited to see you. Welcome back. And welcome for the first time, those of you that are here for the first time. It's lovely to see you. And those of our folks who are missing, where are you? Okay? But it's wonderful to see you, and we hope you'll come back again and again. And we hope you'll find a place here, whether you're a brand new visitor or a regular attender, that you'll remember that Bethel is a place to build, and Bethel is a place where you can choose to make a difference. If you have an idea, you know what? We'll listen. We'll try to help you make it happen. Doesn't mean we can finance it, but if you have an idea that can take hold by itself, and get some volunteers and do it, we'll do it. Look at the pet food bank. That was somebody's idea. And it's still going after how long?
6 years. Something like that, yeah.
6 years.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, the notes are up there. I know I didn't cover all of those, and I covered some extra things. But here's the thing. Pray to God. Let God hear your lament. Notice when your community is in pain. But also, think about those heroes. Make God your hero. Follow God. Persevere in that race. Do your work. Take your risks. Stick your toe in the pool. Make a difference. Amen.